prep for Thanksgiving at Whole Foods Market. Save now on no antibiotics ever frozen whole turkey, just $1.49 a pound with Prime. Sales on brie and select seafood appetizers help get things started. For sides, go with wallet-happy favorites from 365 by Whole Foods Market. And finish with decadent desserts from the bakery. Or get your whole spread catered. Just order early. Get Thanksgiving ready at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality bikes, which might lead to another discovery. Getting back in the saddle isn't always comfortable. Good news is Sierra has massage guns. And chafe wipes, too. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and I got the full house to talk about 2 wins over Brighton. Happy days. I've got Si. Evening, Si.
Evening, boss.
I've got Dr. Barts live from... Yeah, very excited. Got Dr. Barts live from very, very late at night in Mauritius. Evening, Barts.
How we doing, mate? You all right?
I'm good, mate. You got your cocoa?
I've got my cocoa, yep, just halfway through.
I think he's still in the office. It's Mr. Hamzah Khalid Luna. Evening, Hamzah. Are you still in Times HQ?
And no, I put back to my parents this weekend. I was at Wolves on Saturday, so I just stayed over. I got the day off today, but back to work tomorrow.
And how was Wolverhampton?
Once you've seen one Wolves match, you've seen them all.
The match.
Yeah.
Oh.
I missed the last sort of 15 of our match, but managed to sort of catch that because I was travelling from my parents to there. Actually, as I got in the car, Liverpool scored both their goals, but I managed to get them on my phone. So, yeah, happy days. Especially happy because Arsenal and City dropped points.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to have to start by talking very quickly about the League Cup game in the week, Brighton 2, Liverpool 3. And I guess the main thing we always want to talk about on UP is to focus on the minutes in the legs and the rotation. So, Si, I think it was 10 changes. Is that right? Or 9 from the previous match, from the Arsenal game?
I have us at 8.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I have us at 8.
Yeah, and then there was a whole chunk of changes again for going from Brighton to the league game. But Si, you're never particularly happy with anybody in the first team squad playing in the League Cup games. What did you think of this in the context of the season, particularly now that I understand we are going to have to play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday until the end of February?
Till the end of time.
Until the end of time.
Until the end of time. It's shit. I think it's well documented. It we've had 2 seasons in the past where we've started the season well. We end up top or second in the league, but usually top. For periods where we've been top in the league and we've actively chosen to chase the bloody Carabao Cup and started dropping in Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah starting games. And by March, we drop off a cliff. 1, because of fatiguing legs. 2, because of injuries built up over between the block 4, which is the end of the international break, and Christmas around there, and the legs start falling off lads, and you get the reserves thrown in. Performances drop because they're not first. They're reserves for a reason, but also they get injured because their load's not high enough. And sometimes we had a little bounce last season from look how amazing we are with all these young kids. Aren't our kids geniuses? When our kids have all gone off to play shitly for all of these all the lower league teams around the world. But sometimes you get a little bit of fortune, and we talked about it. Probably I was a little bit higher than most on how lucky we were during that like flashy February period last season until it all came crashing down. But what you're doing is you're creating unnecessary risk. That would be my feeling on it. It's unnecessary risk by what? 1, creating more minutes in legs for players that are already on target for. We've got 6 lads who are on target for career highs of 20% or more increase. We have 13 lads who are on target for greater than their career average seasons, and you could mitigate that by taking out the cup games and concentrating on the things that are important. If you don't, you're just using all of these minutes on younger lads. You talk about other seasons, but the thing is that we've got so many players that are now playing full-time international football too, at the peak of the highest frequency of international games. So you've got all of that load on these players, and the only way we can mitigate that is by missing cup games, and we keep chucking them in. And so you've got the load perspective. You also have the biggest thing that I find with this is that you've got a new manager who doesn't get an opportunity to train the lads from a tactical perspective. 11 on 11. This is situational, real-time situational problem solving on a pitch. This is the structure. These are the problems that I want you to figure out, and that's how you embed new tactical approaches. Because it's not do this at this time. It's I want you. They set up constraints, and this is how I want you to solve this problem. Maybe can you think of it in a different way? Oh yeah, this is the solution. So they start embedding processes and executive programs in their brains of how they solve situations on a football pitch by playing 11 versus 11 with constraints. You can't do that unless you're game day plus 4. You're 4 days away from the game, from the game you've just played, and that because of these games, we're removing 5 opportunities, 5 weeks of doing that between the beginning of the season and March. And when you're playing for a manager that's never had the opportunity to embed a tactical approach and new systems, you're missing the greatest of opportunities for a coach to actually coach. Without it, when you're playing midweek games, there is no learning going on. None. So you have the load, which is much greater than it should be, and it needs to be, and you have a huge reduction in time that the players get to embed the new approach. So I wonder, as the things are dropping now, because I think defensively we're good, but we're creating less systematically than we were 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, is I wonder if we created maybe we've taken on board 10 or 15% of the coach's playbook. And at the beginning of the season, you were like, whoa, this is what slot ball looks like. And the opposition now, they've had 15 games, they've had 10 games really, to watch it and see how that works and see the triggers and see the movements and patterns. They then can, like in a baseball parlance, when you get a rookie up, they've seen the tape, they can adjust to counteract the approach that we're setting out to to create scenarios for us to score. And we're finding it harder to break that down now because they've already done that. And we haven't had an opportunity to embed a second layer. And we're not going to have an opportunity to embed a second layer until the end of March, unless we get knocked out of the cups.
Blimey. That's pretty emphatic. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, though, as a follow-up, was some of the changes that we have made for this match, including players who haven't played very much this season, were centre midfield of Endo and Tyler Morton. But they were the first guys off at just over 60 minutes, say. What was the reason behind that decision? Was there one, do you think? Sports science-wise?
My feeling. So, because we don't have any training, right, and alongside tactical periodization, of which there will be a whole fatigue index next week with an expert in tactical periodization. Any questions, stick it in Discord. We've talked about the intensity of training is done in match scenarios. So they don't have it. So you need to keep a chronic load up. The only way to do that, if you're playing all the time, is to do it in games. And so we're keeping players' ability to repeat midweek games for Champions League by having to drop them into bloody Carabao. Whereas you could have done it in a much safer setting in an 11-11 match day scenario in training, where you know for sure that your teammate is not going to come through with the studs high into your knee or elbow you in the chin or throw you over the goalkeeper's shoulder and get injured, unless you're going to be from a corner and then your captain just chooses to land on your arm. But you reduce the risk of injury significantly by having that. And in having to play in a competitive scenario, you're putting the lads in a much less controlled environment to have to play at the end of the game. Also,
so you're saying it was more that with Endo and Morton, it was more that it would have been a risk to play them for that much more because they hadn't played. Is that what you're saying?
That's one small factor, but my feeling is that they're just placeholders so we can get the right amount, so we can set the right loading matrix for the other players, for the first teamers. That's all. It was just mitigating minutes. They were always coming off at that time, no matter what happened in the game. It was all about mitigating minutes for the first teamers.
Yeah, did you see the stuff from somebody asked? Obviously, he asked to slot a sports science type question in the week, and he was talking about loading to play 100 minutes a week, or twice a week for 100 minutes plus. Is that does that sound about right to you, based on everything you've told us?
It sounds like he's listened to our pod.
Yeah. Okay.
The guy asking the questions had listened to our pod for sure.
Okay. Oh, was it Hamzah who asked the question? I missed it then. But no. Thanks, Zach. So now, Barts, the chronic load of our best players at the peak times was so we had Mo, Mane, Bobby were between 120 and 135 minutes per week as a chronic load. Virgil's was always higher. And Trent at his absolute best was about 115, and Robbo's was a tiny bit higher than that. But their sustained chronic load. You always had like Endo was around. If you remember, we had a period where if he was 110 or above for 3 weeks, he breaks. And Fab was around 105 to 115. So it would be your first teamers. You want them above 100. You want them around between 110 and 120. Yeah, nice one. Right, Phil, you were in bed. Did you see the goals? Did you see the goals on this one?
Yeah, I did see the goals. Yeah, I did. Yeah,
because I just wanted to say one thing. We've talking about him a lot this season, and he's the match winner again. It's Cody Gakpo. I mean, first off, wasn't much to write home about. Not that much happened in that first half, but straight after half time, he absolutely scores a fantastic goal, Barts.
He does. It seems to be his kind of area, that kind of go down the line, put it back onto his other, and then either fire it or drift it into the other corner, because he repeated the move very similarly at the weekend, but with less aplomb, obviously. But no, he's certainly
far off. Yeah, it was close, like.
No, but No, I mean the goal he scored the weekend was a cross, wasn't it? But it was from the same sort of area. I think it's no, I thought it was a great hit. I think he's I actually thought he carried the ball well. He passed it because he lays Dom in as well before he gets his second, and Dom doesn't quite get the shot off right. And then the next break, Cody's through, and he just says, "You know what, I'm going to put it in the bottom, the near post," which is a favoured finish of his as well. So I thought he was playing with confidence, which we've said for a couple of weeks now. It's amazing what that can do to a player. It was also interesting on the shot map. If you look at FOTMOB, all the shots on the left-hand side of the goal, centre or left, which is probably fairly unusual because normally you have Mo Salah on the right contributing. So there you go.
It does. And I was going to, since nobody really watched it, was the tactical analysis. I was going to say we lined up with it notionally as without a centre forward, it was just Jones and Zobbo, and how did that pan out? So that's that's the pod that never was on the tactical side of things. But Game State was back on this one. We got 2-0 up after an hour. They equalised, and then we straight away went up to +2 again before they scrambled an equaliser. Jaros, the reserve goalkeeper, again looked very useful.
He did. I've got in the notes I wrote on the highlights. I've got him 3 saves that he pulls off that are absolutely phenomenal. One in the first half, I think, was a dive-in header to his left palm, a header around the corner. He pulls off a one-on-one, I think.
That was like the Matrix. That was bullet time. I don't know how he hung for that one, going back across himself.
He's showing himself to be a very good understudy. I saw some bits on, for those who don't know, I haven't had that much access to social media recently, so which has been a strange phenomenon, but I did manage to get into Discord a little bit earlier, and there's people talking about we've got these keepers all lined up now, and if you get the right loans and the right sells at the right time, we could be set for the next sort of 5-6 seasons if things go forward. And Yaris is certainly showing that he can definitely be back up to the lad we got in the summer or whoever else going forward. It's just, very pleasing. And is
that what you call him, the Georgian lad?
The Georgian lad, yeah. I will learn when he actually is playing for us. I'll try and learn his name. But no, I like the way that they're all very similar, if that makes sense. Like they all have, they're good shot stoppers, right? They're all good shot stoppers. Yaros, even with his feet, I thought he was all right in the League Cup. In the highlights I saw, I didn't see the whole game, obviously, but they all seem to have the same instincts, which is again testament to the way we train and profile our players, that we want to keep it does X. So we've now got 4 of them that do X to varying degrees of ability, but they all do the same thing, and I think that's a really good sign for the club going forward. But no, I thought some of the goals were great. I thought some of the criticism of Quansah was a little bit.
Well, I was going to ask Hamzah about that in a second. So yeah,
no worries. I'll leave it to Hamzah to but there you go. Yeah.
Add excitement to your holidays with Ohio Lottery Holiday Scratch-Offs, including $1 holiday cash and $5 holiday lucky times 10, or holiday bonus millions with a 200 times multiplier and a $2 million top prize. Plus, enjoy second chance drawings where you can win 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times the price of your ticket. Scratch-Offs make the perfect gift, and best of all, there's no wrapping required. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
But on Yaros, I mean, I see Robert Sanchez made another bad mistake against Man United on yesterday. I mean, the amount of money that Chelsea have spent on keepers, they should just be signing one of our backups, right?
I would have. It does blow my mind, but I think people don't want to give us money. That's it. I think we've got to that point. Do you know what I mean? There's a point where people don't want to give Edwards cash, right? You give him some cash, he generally turns it into things. I know he's technically not in charge, but you know, if someone had bought Kev for £40 million, imagine what he would have been able to do. Like he could have might have put someone in. So I just think, I can't understand why they're not looking at some of our resis. Even the guy, the Georgian lad, I'm not even sure. I don't know why no one else was in the running to bid for him. It seems like a great deal.
Well, Man United were apparently, but obviously he's not going to go to a team at 13th in the Premier League after a quarter of the season.
No. And that would be madness from them seeing they shelled out on a keeper last summer, right? So
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I don't get why they're not looking at Kev. For me, is a top Premier League keeper. Is he a mainstay of a top four side? I don't know. I think there's still some things where I think he gets beaten his near post a little bit easier. But generally speaking, I think he's far better than I would say 15 of the Premier League keepers. So I can't understand why someone didn't want to pay the money we wanted for him. I think would have dramatically improved people's season.
Especially because one of the teams signed Aaron Ramsdale. Was it Forest? Somebody signed Aaron Ramsdale from Arsenal. I can't remember who. Anyway, Hamzah, anything you wanted to bring up on this game before I ask you about Jarrell Quansah?
It was Southampton who signed Ramsdale.
Yeah.
Just the goals themselves were just a very nice piece of work. The first shot by Gakpo, I thought it took a deflection actually, because the way that it moved in the air, but really clean strike. When you hit it that sweetly, you have it's like sort of swing in cricket, late swing.
Yeah,
the ball starts moving and then it just jars one way, and it's a really gorgeous strike. That's an element of his game that you saw at PSV, where he'd cut in and shoot a lot, often from outside the box, but not so much when he was playing centre forward for Liverpool, just because you can't cut in and shoot when you're playing through the middle as much as you do when you're breaking it off the left. So that goal was nice. His second goal was nice, and the Diaz goal was about as sort of as South American-y a goal that you can think of, right? Just bouncing ball, controls it, holds his man off, feints one way, and then flicks it near post when the keeper's not expecting it. But all three goals were really nice. I guess on to Quansah, right? Where did you want to go with?
Yeah. I was going to say, because this is the kind of thing that newspapers love to write about, right? This kind of late substitution, the impact on it. So there's a lot of mileage in this kind of decision by my manager, right? My take is that the manager's in a hostile environment, away game. He's 3-1 up. 3-2 up, and he's basically trying to win the game in front of him, and that's all there is to it. I just don't think there's anything deeper than that. But now he's made the decision, he's obviously got to deal with any fallout and any consequences of it. What do you think about the whole situation?
Yeah, I guess the flip side is that if you're a player and you were starting the season, you're hooked to half time, you haven't been able to play since that much. You have a cup match. You give away the ball, which leads to the first goal. You're a bit unlucky with the second because it's deflected, and then you get hooked in the 90th minute. Your confidence is just going to be quite poor. Yeah. So I think that's probably the only other bit that you need to sort of to look at, and then judge whether you think it's a wise decision to pull a player off in the 90th minute when they are your youngest centre back, and you might need to call on them later in the season. Maybe that's just how Slot works. We've seen how managerial styles have changed over the past 10 years, 20 years. Shouting at players doesn't really work anymore. The Mourinho style of sort of giving them the hard shoulder can only work for so long. If you want to have a long period at a club, the way now is very different to the way it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. Maybe he's got plenty of time working with Quansah one-on-one, and it's just a sort of, all right, maybe you had a knock, we'll change you. Konate comes on, we see the game out. Maybe it's something different. Honestly, We don't know, but I think it's probably worth just recognising at least that as a player, he's not going to feel good in that sort of situation. But I can't add too much beyond that. But I think Said wants to say something.
Said?
Yeah. So one thing Ham's absolutely right about the psychology of player profile now as 10 years ago, as 20 years ago. It's huge different. Everybody knows. You've got kids, they're just different. But the one thing that I would say has changed in favour of Slot making decisions like this is that he can objectively go, here's your rolling 5 minutes of physical data, and look at the massive drop-off. I needed to take you off because he's got 6 minutes left, and you're going to cost the team with, you just literally haven't played enough, and here's the very obvious fatigue in your legs. Does that make sense? In the past, it would have been a coach's intuition to go, oh, I can see it's not turning so well there. Or he's lost a bit of a step. He looks a bit leggy. Well, that's not. But it doesn't matter now. I can see exactly in real time that you are, your first 5 steps are slower. That one of the things, the metrics that you run from GPS is the most intense 5 minute period. And then so there are 5 minute periods categorized in a graph all the way along. And what will have happened is that drops down from your peak period as it gradually builds up to around 20, probably for most of it is right. It can be between 20 and 60th minute, usually the most intense period. But the drop-off will be so significant that he can just go, oh, that's costing us. And then there's nothing anybody in the team can argue about. Unless Quansah can go, yeah, but I could see his, and his was dropping worse than mine, so you couldn't take me off. That's a possibility, but it's very, very unlikely given the hierarchy of, he knows he's the youngest, least experienced player on the pitch. And his metrics have so objectively dropped off the cliff. And that and Slot did mention that his physical data had dropped off, which is the reason.
And that's what he means by that. It means in-game stuff that they can track. Yeah, okay, interesting.
And just on that very quickly, like with all the cameras that you have now, when tracking data first came around, you could sort of, I can't remember the exact figures, but you'd have like 5 data points per person. Now I think it's 30, right? So you can literally see in real time, as I mentioned, when a player is running well and they're not tired, they have really nice kinetic sort of form. Everything looks lined up, they're running properly, right? But as they're tiring, you'll see that maybe, and this is where probably Phil or Si can add specific detail, maybe like their knees aren't going as high as they usually would, or the ankles aren't aligned properly, just as you're fatigued. You see when people run past you in the park and they're not sort of, they're clearly tired, they're not running as they would usually when they're fresh. So you can see that with the data that's captured by cameras now, and that stuff is collected by the club. So that sort of stuff can feed into it as well. But sorry, Barts might want to just clarify.
But I can go first. I was just saying, I thought his gait can change quite quickly, and they can look at that. I also thought the second goal, the deflection, although it was unlucky with deflection, I thought his body shape was showing signs that he wasn't moving as well. There was that signs that he wasn't quite on it because he falls over. It's like if you're set and you're not fatigued, for me, his body shape would be slightly better. You'll see, you might perceive, defenders about being aware of danger, isn't it? And there's always, if someone's taking a shot straight in front of you, there is going to be an element that could deflect towards you. And I think that showed for me a little bit that he wasn't quite set, his body shape wasn't right. And it deflected off him, he was weakly. But yeah, you can see from the camera angles and the rate, you can look at his gait, you can look at how he's running, you can look at his kinematics, as you said. And then that's probably a way you can rationalise with the player that you needed to come off. The flip side to that is that he's directly contributed to 2 goals being conceded. So that's going to be a hard sell. No matter what data you have, that is going to be a hard sell that you concede the second goal and pretty much straight away you get taken off. I'd suggest that's quite a difficult sell, but that's what he earns his money for. If he wants Jarrell to be continually involved during the season, he's got to keep him going. I think it was notable that he went to Gomez at the weekend. Even though Gomez had played a 490 on Saturday, he went to him straight away. Whereas at the beginning of the season, I would argue he wouldn't have done it. He would have gone with Jarrell.
Yeah. Anyway, that is absolutely fascinating insight, chaps. That's definitely an angle that won't have been covered anywhere else. So, nice one. Right, on to the league game. Liverpool 2, Brighton 1. Si, and on to those all-important lineups, because I think there was a whole raft of changes. Only 3 changes from the Arsenal game, though. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly that. We had 9 changes from the Champions League game, but
Carabao.
The Carabao shite, but only 3 from the Arsenal game of first teamers, and it was pretty much that. I would say that would be the lineup most fans would have gone with for this game. There might be some kind of discussion, which is, I think, around Gakpo and Diaz, but mostly, I think Gakpo's probably earned favour amongst fans for the moment, though they like to sing Diaz's new song. From a loaded perspective,
there's definitely some Andy Robbo ultras out there still, Si, for sure.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. Actually, I get lots of arguments about Robbo, but there is inarguably he had, from a loaded perspective, he had a big spike in load coming into that game. So I think Simeon was the right sports science choice, but also he's just playing better. He's unequivocally playing better. And doing more for the team this season from a production perspective that Robbo and Trent are not. We're getting very, very little from the fullbacks this season from that kind of stuff. If you look at big chances created, that Trent is on 4, and Simi is also on 4. From massive reduction in time. So over the course of 2 seasons, that Simi's numbers are really good. He just didn't play very much.
We were saying on this pod last year, he got injured I think he got injured when Klopp fell on him, didn't he? In the Arsenal home game in the league. And before that,
it looked like he might have got himself a team.
Yeah, he was tremendous before that. Yeah.
Simi's goal. So just quickly is the goal or big chance created this season that Mo obviously leads the team with 88, and Diaz is at 92, and Simi is there at 138, which is 15 minutes better than Trent's.
Well,
and twice Robbo's 388 minutes. And Simi's is 138.
Yeah,
Simi's is half. Simi's is twice as good as any midfielder.
Yeah. Wow.
He's earned his slot. That's all I'm trying to say.
He certainly has. Hamzah, Brighton. They continue. I love Brighton. I think most of us love Brighton. We've got a lot of respect for Brighton. Ian Graham certainly loves Brighton. I think he wrote about Brighton more than Liverpool in his recent book. It was astonishing how much he wrote about Brighton and Brentford. But they are such an exemplar to everybody around Europe in how to scout, and how to coach. I think you just made a word up there. They're tremendous, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean, there's a few players that didn't play in this match, Baleba and Enciso. I think most people are already familiar with Enciso because he scored quite a few goals last season or before that, I think. And Baleba was the guy that has succeeded or will succeed Caicedo, who's also playing well and was a good recruitment. And I think it speaks well to, even though it didn't work out for him initially at Chelsea, he's playing well now. It speaks to the quality of Brighton's initial recruitment and then the correct decision by Liverpool and Chelsea to try and go in for him on it, at least from a statistical perspective, because he's very good. But yeah, in addition to that, you've got players like Yasin Ayari, the 21-year-old, who made a lot of influential decisions in this match and had that gorgeous pass that he played in behind as well that could have led to a goal. And his movement was something I really liked. In particular, the way that he dovetailed with Hinshelwood. So Hinshelwood would occasionally drop.
A teenager. Hinshelwood is a teenager.
Yeah, and he's really flexible. He's great. In fact, now that you mentioned that particular dimension, you've got a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old as the pivot for Brighton in this match. And in the first half, I thought they were excellent in the way that they space.
And they were missing their experienced leader, who's usually behind him back for Lewis Dunk.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I think Igor, the Brazilian dude, came in for him.
Mm-hmm.
But Lewis Dunk's a big player for Brighton, right? And they were missing a few others, like you said. So to get that level of performance out of this level of player, they literally scour the four corners of the globe, don't they, to come up with these pieces of the puzzle which just fit together really, really well, and they're incredibly well coached.
Yeah, and I guess when you're at Brighton specific level, there's upsides and downsides, but one of the upsides is you can take risks on these sorts of players and know that if they work out and they're all right, then they will fit into your system. They don't all need to be superstars. When you're at an elite level, when you're in the Liverpool Man City bracket, you're not going to be recruiting many of these players because their upside to them isn't really there. Because what's the point on taking a gamble on a player that might turn out to be a 7 out of 10 when you need 8 out of 10 players to improve your squad or take them forward, or you want 9 out of 10 players or 10 out of 10 players? When you're in this sort of area where Brighton are, there's that capacity to sort of roll the dice on certain players, and you might get upside from it. And if it is, great, and if not, they're still okay. So they are in a sort of environment which is slightly different, which allows them to try and look to these markets in a way that other clubs wouldn't, and then they get to work with them and coach them. And sometimes they'll spend time out in the Belgian league or whatever. Build up the skills
Dingra.
Yeah, exactly.
He got some like 30 goals and assists the season before last in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
It just tore the place up. I think there was the chapter in Ian Graham's book which did what you described. I think it was called "The Players Who Were Good Enough to Play for Liverpool but Would Never Be Signed Because They Don't Fit the Profile of the player we're looking for." So basically, really good players. I think he seemed to be fascinated with teams who were players who were obviously good enough to play in the Premier League but weren't currently in the Premier League, and that seemed to be a real hobby horse of Ian Graham's. And Pervis Estupinian, Karen Mitoma. And I'm sure some of the other names will feed into that as well. These are the type. Alexis McAllister in Argentina. These are the players we're talking about here.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.